Okay, let's just get right into it. If you follow tech at all, you've seen the headlines, you've heard the chatter, Apple has a serious AI problem. I mean, while their competitors are rolling out these mind-blowing new features, Apple seems, well, stuck. But what if the real reason for this lag isn't about being slow to innovate? What if it's all about cold, hard cash?
And yeah, you hear this sentiment everywhere. Think back to when Siri first launched. It felt like magic, right? It was the future, in your pocket. But fast forward to today, and while other AIs are practically reading our minds, Siri often feels like it's stuck in 2011. So what is actually going on? Is this just a temporary blip, or is it a sign of something way more dangerous for Apple's future?
You know, the history of technology is basically a graveyard of giants who missed the boat on a huge tech shift and just vanished. And the most famous cautionary tale of them all has got to be BlackBerry. So the big scary question bouncing around Silicon Valley and Wall Street is this: is Apple repeating the exact same mistake? And this is where the comparison gets a little chilling. Back in 2007, when the iPhone was taking over the world, BlackBerry just doubled down on what they knew. They clung to their strengths, their fortress of security, and physical keyboards. Today, as AI is changing literally everything, Apple is clinging to its own fortress, privacy and perfection. The playbook is just eerily similar. And that big question mark at the end, that's what's making everyone so nervous.
Okay, so to really get why Apple seems to be hitting the brakes, we have to look past the shiny software and just follow the money. Because, and this is the crazy part, the basic business model for AI is kind of broken, especially when you're operating at the absolutely insane scale of Apple. Let's break down why. So how does Siri get smarter? In a lot of cases, it uses something called an API. Now, just think of an API as a digital bridge. When you ask Siri a really tough question, it doesn't figure it out itself. It bundles up your request, sends it over this API bridge to a super powerful AI, like one from OpenAI, gets the answer, and then brings it back. Sounds simple, right? But here's the catch. Every single trip across that bridge has a toll.
And that toll is paid in something called tokens. You can think of tokens like the arcade tokens of the AI world. Every little piece of your conversation, the question you type in, the answer you get back, costs a certain number of these tokens. And every single one of those tokens has a real-world price tag. And right here, this is the absolute core of the dilemma for Apple. This is the thing that flips the entire software business model on its head. See, with a traditional app, say like Canva, your costs per user actually go down as you get bigger. You get economies of scale. It's a compounding margin. But with AI, it is the complete opposite. Every new user and every single request they make adds a direct new cost. It's not a compounding margin, it is a compounding cost. Scale actually becomes your enemy.
So what does a compounding cost actually look like when you're a company with over 1 billion active iPhones out there in the world? Well, the numbers aren't just big, they are potentially catastrophic. Let's just do some quick back-of-the-napkin math here. Say just 1 billion of Apple's users made an average of just 12 AI requests a day. The annual bill Apple would have to pay to a partner like OpenAI could be $65 billion. That's not revenue. That is pure, unadulterated cost. Now, to put that number in perspective, because it's kind of hard to even wrap your head around, Apple's entire net profit last year was about $93 billion. That $65 billion AI bill would devour nearly 70% of their entire profit. If users made twice as many requests, the AI bill would be bigger than their profits. This isn't a business model. It is a financial black hole. And you're probably thinking, wait a minute, won't Google and Microsoft have the same problem? Well, no, not really. Because they own the entire AI factory. They own the whole stack. Google has its models like Gemini, they have their own custom chips, TPUs to run them, and they have an absolute ocean of data from search and YouTube to train them. They control everything. Apple, though, they own the platform, the iPhone, the beautiful storefront. But for the model, the computers, the data, they have to pay rent to the factory owners. So, is Apple just doomed? Well, not so fast. They are incredibly aware of this cost nightmare, and their big Apple Intelligence announcement, it's actually a very, very clever, multi-layered defense designed to fight back against this exact problem.
Here's how it works. First, for all the simple stuff, like summarizing a notification, the AI runs right there on your iPhone's chip. The cost to Apple? Zero. For anything a bit heavier, it goes to Apple's own secure servers. They control that cost. And then, only as a final, last resort, when a question is super complex,
Only then does it make that expensive trip across the API bridge to an outside partner. The whole goal is to make it so that for every 20 requests you make, maybe only one of them actually costs them real money.
This strategy is brilliant for solving the cost problem, for now. But it opens up a totally different and maybe even more dangerous long-term strategic threat, one that could shake the very foundation of Apple's entire empire.
And it all comes down to this. For decades, Apple was the platform. They were the destination. But if we all get trained to rely on an external AI to do the thinking, the iPhone risks becoming just a dumb piece of glass. It becomes a gateway to someone else's intelligence. The real value moves away from Apple's beautiful hardware and to whoever owns the AI brain.
This really is the ultimate dilemma. The value of Apple has always been that seamless marriage of hardware and software. But what happens when the most valuable piece of tech you own is your personal AI agent? An agent that knows you, your habits, your friends, and it can live on any device, not just an iPhone. What happens to that famous Apple loyalty when the most important layer of your tech life lives above the operating system?
So in the end, it all boils down to this single question. Apple has built a multi-trillion-dollar company based on our loyalty to the hardware. But as AI becomes the main way we interact with everything, we have to ask ourselves, when our AI knows us better than our phone does, which one will we be more loyal to? The answer to that question is going to define the next decade of technology.